Okay, at this time, we will open the agency. We had oral communications. We're going to go to the next item is consent items.
Move approval.
We have a motion
Second.
to approve. We have a second. Call for the vote.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Let's go to item 4.
Mr. Chairman, the item is a bank loan agreement with Union Bank California to provide interim financing for the acquisition of the Brookhurst Triangle project, and I'd like Chair Shizaki to give the staff report on this.
Thank you, Matt. Chair Broadwater, members of the agency, this evening, as Mr. Fertel indicated, we are bringing forth an approval of a bank loan agreement between the agency and Union Bank of California. At the direction of the agency board, staff was directed to secure financing to complete acquisition of an important project, the Brookhurst Triangle. As you recall, the Brookhurst Triangle has been a project that has been a top priority for the agency and city council for a number of years, and unfortunately, most recently, Urban Pacific Builders was unable to proceed with the project because of changing market conditions. In review of the project with the staff and the agency board members, this project was still a high priority, and we proceeded to acquire the remaining parcels. Just as a reminder, those 2 parcels entailed the acquisition of the Diley properties, which the agency approved on March 27th of this year, or of last year, and the J.O. Trust property, which was the last remaining property, on August 28th of 2007. Both these acquisitions were based on an installment payment with funding to come later. I've outlined the payment schedule for you in our staff report, and we'll go over those in more detail if you would like to, but I'll go through the essence of the bank loan that we have secured. The proceeds of the bank loan will not exceed $32 million, which may leave additional funds for any potential Harbor Boulevard acquisitions that may arise between now and 3 years from now for future hotel and entertainment uses. Relative to the Brookhurst project itself, again, as a reminder, we have entered into a negotiation with JPI, who will be putting together a mixed-use development of 650 to 750 residential units and up to 50,000 square feet of commercial on the site. Again, this is a key property development, not only for the gateway of the Garden Grove Boulevard Business District, but a very vital program for the community itself. With that, the bank loan that has been secured and is being presented this evening will help finance the remaining acquisitions that I have mentioned. The basic and general terms of the bank agreement are also outlined in your staff report, but I'll briefly go over it with you. It is a 12-year loan structured, again, for the first 3 years as capitalized interest, followed by 1 year of interest only, and 8 years remaining to pay off the principal and interest on the loan. I might interject here that our exit plan here would be to pay off the loan at the end, at the end of the 3-year period through proceeds from land sales to JPI, the developer. The loan amount, again, will not exceed $32 million. The initial loan period will have an interest rate of approximately 4.2%. That may fluctuate one way or the other, but very minimally. And again, we do have an extension period of 9 years following the initial period. No orientation fees are a part of this loan, and again, the only other fees by the bank are $15,000 for legal fees. Relative to the financial impact of this loan, in addition to the $15,000 for the bank itself, we do have a cost of $20,000 for financial agency financial advisor services, special counsel to the extent of $5,000. Ultimately, once the project is completed, the total amount of value would be close to $35 million and an estimated annual tax increment of about $2.5 million, but we'll have a better number once the project is completed. Again, this is a vital step in the implementation of our community vision in terms of revitalizing areas that are showing blighting influences and conditions, and ultimately it will improve the city's economic base through tax increment and sales tax as a result of this project. Therefore, it is recommended that the agency board approve the Union Bank commitment letter, which was attached to your staff report. And also, I'd like to further be more specific in my second recommendation to satisfy the bank needs, and that would be to authorize the agency director to execute and the agency secretary to attest to the credit agreement, the promissory note, and the certificate of borrower reflecting the terms set forth in the commitment letter in a form approved by agency legal counsel. And with that, that completes my staff report. We're available for any questions.
Any questions from staff?
Yeah,
Mr. Jones, go ahead.
I have one question. I could ask you this in advance, but I just noticed it right now. There's a, it looks like there's a prepayment penalty in the first 3 years, and then under financial impact, it suggests that says the agency plans to pay off the loan balance during this period with the proceeds of the land sale. So are we
Effectively, it'll be at
we
the end of
anticipate we pay this off within the first 3 years or after that period? And
We'll probably wait to the end of the third year, so we don't incur the prepayment penalty.
just reads funny the way it
Yeah.
says it.
Any other questions?
Yes. If we pay the interest for 3 years, would the prepayment penalty be less than the interest in 3 years? You want me to repeat the question?
It's not actually a prepayment penalty. What happens is, if you wanted to terminate the fixed rate at, say, 2 years, what happens is, if the rate in the market has gone down since the rate was locked, then there's what's called a termination fee. If the rate had actually gone up, the bank would pay you a termination fee at that point in time. So you control what it is at that point. It's not really a prepayment. It's called a termination fee for the rate lock.
It's a yield spread premium.
Yes. And so it really is, it's market driven.
The estimated annual tax increment of $2.5 million, when do you project that would be?
Probably in 3 years. We're expecting an 18-month time frame before construction begins and maybe another 18 months before completion. So within 36 months, we'd hope to be generating the $2.5 million in tax increment.
Any other questions?
Yes. About the tax increment bonds. How do we, can we have a little bit explanation of the tax increment bonds?
Of the tax increment bonds. In general, are you referring to any particular?
If by chance that the developer doesn't go through,
Right.
then we would have a tax increment bond.
Bond.
And that, what kind of effect would that have on the city? What kind of funds would that come from?
Yeah, okay. I think I can answer that. If at the end of the third year that the project hasn't been done, what we're saying here as a backstop is that the agency's tax increment revenue would have grown within that 3 years. And then we can go out into the market and issue long-term bonds and take out the short-term bond in place at the time. If we were to borrow all this $32 million and buy the property, at the end of the third year, if the developer didn't go forward, we can go out in the market, borrow long-term, and use the proceeds from that long-term bonds and take out this loan, and then carry that long-term bonds on our book until something is done with the property. And we are hoping at that point, the plan, of course, is at that point that the interest rate on a long-term bond will be much lower, and the agency can handle it at that point.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to see how we would balance the impact. Thank you.
Okay, move approval.
We have a motion to approve
Second.
in a second. You know, this bank is the same bank that refused to cash my city check about 5 years ago. And then when I told them that I want to know what was wrong, they told me I had to speak to somebody higher up at the city. And I told them I was the mayor. And they said, well, you still need to speak to somebody higher up. I didn't know who that person was, but anyway, I'm going to approve this, and I'm going to vote for this instead of voting my conscience and sticking it to that bank. So, call for the vote.
Motion received, 4 yes votes.
Matters from agency. Anybody have anything for the agency? At this time, we'll recess the agency, or we will terminate till